Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here coming at you with another gameplay impressions video, and today we're going to be talking about Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection for the PlayStation 4. This title was sent to me by PlayStation Portugal so that I could give it a look and tell you guys my opinions on it. So, in case you guys haven't noticed, my voice still hasn't 100% recovered. This past week, I've been incredibly sick. Basically, my kid got sick, then my wife got sick, and then I was sick, and I'm still kind of sick. I'm still kind of in recovery, so I apologize if my voice sounds somewhat weird and crackly and all that kinds of bad stuff. But regardless of that, let's actually talk about what we're here to talk about, which is Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection. So what exactly is Uncharted, the Nathan Drake Collection? Well, it is a bundle that includes all three Uncharted games for the PlayStation 4. Now, those of you that are not into the whole HD remaster thing, you guys already know what kind of to expect out of something like this, because this is very much porting the games from the PlayStation 3 into the PlayStation 4. The remaster portion of it, basically to me, means increasing the graphics, increasing the fidelity as much as you possibly can, and just making the game look as best as it possibly can look. And that I can tell you, I mean, you guys can tell from the footage going on in the background, which, by the way, in case you haven't noticed yet, this video is post-commentary, so that I can show you footage of all three Uncharted games. But anyway, that is also one of the reasons why I didn't want to do a live stream for this one, because I could have done a live stream of this. They've given me a lot of time so that I could do live streams and whatnot, but I kind of figured that on these specific HD remasters, you guys want to see as high quality image as possible, and a live stream just doesn't cut it when you really want to get super high quality footage from a game that looks this good. And also, YouTube is already going to murder the footage, so if I was live streaming it at even a lower bitrate, I kind of feel like guys wouldn't really get the really juicy experience and get to see just how good this game actually looks. So, let's get the technicalities aside. What exactly is the big improvement over what you guys have seen on the PlayStation 3? Well, the PlayStation 3, as far as I can remember, it was a long time ago that I played the Uncharted games. They basically all ran at 720p 30 FPS. That's at least my recollection of it. I only really finished Uncharted 2, didn't play too much of Uncharted 1, and I never really touched Uncharted 3, which kills me to this day because I own it, and I actually never played it before, which this is a good opportunity to do so. But anyways, as you guys will be able to see, the footage is now 1080p, 60 FPS, and I've played a good chunk of each of the games. So Uncharted 1, which is Drake's Fortune, Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, and Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. I've played a good chunk of each of them, and I haven't really seen significant frame dips or anything of that nature. I mean, maybe you'll find some depending on how many hours you've played so far, but to be honest, I personally haven't experienced any issues with it, and I've played both this version. I also played an alpha version, like a really early build of this, which was even running on like a dev kit unit or whatever, and it was already running 1080p, 60 FPS, smooth as butter, as my friend AWOL would say. It was already running very, very good back then. It seems to run just as good, or if not even better now. So in terms of, you know, technical prowess and all that, the game feels fine. Now, something that I did notice, which I thought was kind of weird, is the fact that the game doesn't include the localized versions. Now, for those of you who don't know, for those of you who always play video games in English, like me, the Nathan Drake Collection doesn't actually include the localized voices, which, if you've played the previous games on PlayStation 3, they did include those voices. Now, the reasoning behind this, I would have to say, is probably because of limited amount of space on a Blu-ray disc. Because, I mean, when you have 50 gigs and you can fill one game, you can put as many voiceovers as you want in there and it'll be fine. But when you have 50 gigs and now you have 3 games instead, maybe you don't have enough available space to put in the localized versions. Now, I don't know what is PlayStation's plan for this. Maybe they have some kind of plan that they might allow people to download that stuff from the store, because there really isn't a reason not to allow people to download voice packs from the store, because these voice packs are already done for the previous games. I mean, the voices are essentially the same, so nothing has really changed on that aspect, at least nothing that I could notice. So I don't think that should be a big deal. But again, I mean, if you're looking to play this in whatever native language you have, just be aware that currently I don't know what their plan is regarding that. But moving past that, How does the game play? Well, it plays very much like it did on the PlayStation 3, except obviously you now have DualShock 4, so they switch the trigger buttons, because for those of you that aren't familiar with the PlayStation 3 controller, the DualShock 3, you used to use L1 and R1, which in terms of Xbox controllers, there would be left shoulder and right shoulder button for aiming and shooting. And the reasoning behind that is because the triggers on the DualShock 3 slip. They slip a little bit. So R2 and L2, they tend to slip, which is why most shooter games would use the shoulder buttons instead to do aiming and shooting. Now, obviously, with the DualShock 4, that is no longer the case. The triggers are super solid, so they switched those up so that you would be able to, use those as triggers, which makes a lot more sense, and it's just like super intuitive. Anyone who picks up a DualShock 4 nowadays just knows, oh, if I'm playing a shooter, L2 is going to aim, R2 is going to shoot. It's pretty basic stuff. So the gameplay feels very familiar to those of you who've played the Uncharted series, and now I would like to just bring up to, the point to talk a little bit about Uncharted for those of you that don't know about the Uncharted series. So basically, those of you that are familiar with the game, it's the same games, and they're just like 1080p, 60 FPS, probably a little bit better audio. It's something along those lines, though I can't tell much of a difference, to be honest, because the quality of the audio on the PlayStation 3 was already super solid. So I don't think there was a problem there. It's just the games run, play, and feel fine. Two notices is the fact that localized versions not included as of yet, and no multiplayer. And this is actually kind of a big deal for me, personally, because I played quite a bit of Uncharted multiplayer, be that Uncharted 2 or Uncharted 3. Uncharted 1 did not have multiplayer, so Drake's Fortune did not have multiplayer at all, but the other Uncharted games actually had like co-ops with, horde modes and just, waves and not really story, so to speak, but it did have a cool co-op mode where you'd go around, kill people with your friends, and it'd be cool. And also it has competitive multiplayer, and it just had, it was actually one of the best multiplayer experiences available on the PlayStation 3, in my personal opinion, because it was super solid. Like, a lot of people say, oh man, Call of Duty this and whatever. It's like Call of Duty most played multiplayer game of like all times and whatnot, and other games of nature like shooters and, stuff like that. And to me, I was just like, man, but Uncharted's so good, how come there's not more people playing Uncharted multiplayer? And I've even heard the expression being said, like, oh, Uncharted didn't need that tacked on multiplayer. And I was like, tacked on? Are you serious right now? Are you brain damaged or something? Did you even play it? Tacked on? That thing was anything but tacked on. The damn thing was so well polished, I was amazed every time I played it because it was that good. And I was a little bit disappointed with the fact that it didn't have multiplayer, but I can also understand the reasoning behind it because, bringing stuff from the multiplayer architecture of the PlayStation 3 over to the multiplayer architecture of the PlayStation 4 is probably challenging, to say the least, because you have different servers, you have, the whole PlayStation Plus thing behind it, so I'm assuming it would have been quite a bit of a challenge, and they're probably working on the multiplayer for Uncharted 4. So, there you go. That's at least my assumption. So just bear in mind that Nathan Drake Collection is only the single-player experience. At least as far as I can tell, unless they're going to come out with a patch later or whatever, but I highly doubt it. I think they're going to focus all of their efforts into bringing Uncharted 4's multiplayer to the table, and everything will flow from there. At least that's the way that I personally see it. Again, this is mostly my opinion. But anyway, if you're familiar with Uncharted by now, you should know pretty much everything that you need to know about this version to make an informed decision on whether or not you want to get it. Now, for those of you that are not familiar with Uncharted, what exactly is the Uncharted franchise? What's the story about? What's the gameplay style? What do you do in Uncharted? Well, if you've been watching the video up until this point, you've probably noticed, the kind of game that it is. It is very much a third-person shooter with cover-based mechanics and whatnot. But what's the how do I put it? What's the thing that hooks people? Why are people always saying such good things about Uncharted? Well, for starters, you have an amazing amount of polish in this game. This is a game that is super solid, and it is a great experience from start to finish. At least my experience. I've only finished Uncharted 2, Among Thieves, and it was one of the first games that I played on the PlayStation 3. And I wasn't really expecting to like it all that much, which I guess just, kind of threw me completely to the other end of the spectrum once I started playing it. Because this game is somewhat linear, I mean, it is pretty much linear. The story is the same from beginning to end. You don't get to really make a lot of choices. Your branching paths are like, oh, I went this route and took out these 3 guys instead of going this route and took out those 4 guys or whatever. Those are kind of like a choice. It's very much like The Last of Us. I mean, at the end of the day, it is still Naughty Dog, you know? This is like how they began doing at least I think. I don't know of their earlier projects. You guys know that I only got into consoles in 2010, okay? Don't kill me. But yeah. This is a third-person shooter, and the theme is all about this modern-day Indiana Jones who is Nathan Drake. Now, the game doesn't take itself too seriously, so you can expect to kill, you know, copious amounts of people. Like, think of it kind of like the story of Lara Croft, you know, with the last Tomb Raider that came out. Because basically everybody's like, oh my God, they're taking Lara Croft so seriously, and then suddenly she just starts murdering heaps and heaps of people. It's like, the story is very much like Indiana Jones, except in order to make the game entertaining, they kind of, you know, remove a little bit of that credibility from the game. So you can expect to kill copious amounts of bad guys in the shooting sequences, like you can expect to kill up to 20, 30, friggin' 50 people in one gunfight. So, you know, if you're the kind of person that's like, no, I want this super authentic experience where the character only kills when he has to and whatnot, this is not what you're going to get. This game has a lot of shooting sequences. The core gameplay is third-person shooter, so you can expect to kill a whole lot of people. But when it comes down to the story, the main character is very much a modern-day Indiana Jones, and he's got good humor. The game has amazing voice acting, some of the best voice acting I have seen in the industry to date. The story is, at least in Uncharted 2, was pretty fun up until the last bit of the game, which I'm not going to give out spoilers, but near the end of Uncharted 2, there's a pretty significant plot twist that, you know, not everybody is going to enjoy. But up until that point, I think the game is universally amazing, at least in my personal opinion. The other Uncharted adventures, you know, the Uncharted 1 and Uncharted 3, I can't speak for how good those stories are, but I can tell you that it is very much the same theme. You're basically playing a modern-day Indiana Jones who is looking for all kinds of treasure across the world. The difference is, while Indiana Jones would usually go out and find treasures and bring it back to museums and whatnot, Nathan Drake is more kind of like a mercenary almost. He goes and he hunts for treasures and whatnot for personal gain. So that gives the character, you know, a bit more of a gray moral compass, which, you know, makes for a more, I kind of feel a little, I don't want to say a more interesting character because, I mean, obviously Indiana Jones is super established already, but it makes for an extremely interesting character who, despite most people identifying him as Indiana Jones, this gray moral compass of his does give him his own identity that kind of separates him from, you know, Indiana Jones, who is much more of a super nice guy and whatnot. Nathan Drake, much more morally gray character, so to speak. And so that's kind of what you can expect from Uncharted. A third-person shooter story that is going to be very much in line with what you would expect from an Indiana Jones movie. Linear storytelling, but like seamless integrated cutscenes with gameplay. Everything is just extremely seamless with Uncharted, and it feels like a super polished game. If there was one sequence in the game that I would say I didn't like all that much, and I think a lot of people probably didn't enjoy this one sequence in Uncharted 2, is probably that stealth sequence at the start. Because, I mean, Uncharted 2 is at its best when it's being super over the top, which I'm assuming some of you guys watched the Uncharted 4 video that I talked about in TGN, hopefully. At least if you guys are watching an Uncharted video, I hope you watched that video as well. And Uncharted 4 is like super over the top, completely just like balls deep, and that's pretty much what Uncharted likes to do. Completely just be over the top, explosions, action scenes, you know, that kind of stuff. There is a lot of that in Uncharted games, and in my opinion, it's a lot of fun. And I've even introduced people to Uncharted, and these are like people who are typically not gamers, and they were like, oh man, this is really cool. It's almost like playing a movie, but in a good way, because it's got a lot of gameplay segments. So even people that are like, oh, I don't like those movie-like experiences that don't have a lot of gameplay, this has tons and tons of gameplay, and it can be really challenging, particularly if you play in the harder difficulties. It does get pretty damn challenging. So I would actually advise you guys, go a little bit above normal, because normal is more for, you know, people who aren't really gamers, people who just want to, have an experience or something. Yeah, that's what you do with the normal difficulty. When you really want to enjoy Uncharted and be challenged and whatnot, I would advise you to go a little bit up, because the gunplay in the game is super solid. It is just one of the best shooting experiences that I've had in the PlayStation 3. Like, this game is how I started using the right analog stick for aiming. Like, it was one of the first shooters that I played on a console. Before that, the only other shooters that I played were like mouse and keyboard. And this game kind of introduced me to it. And it actually, I was a little bit, I got, how do we say it? I was spoiled by this game, because in Uncharted 2, I felt that the aiming and shooting was like super precise, whereas a lot of other games were a lot more challenging in that aspect. So it was a great introduction to shooters for myself personally, which is why I kind of like, I vouch for Uncharted, because I was one of those people that I didn't know a damn thing about Uncharted, and then I just played it and I was like, yeah, this is like a super solid game. And the timing of this is obviously not random, because, in 2016 we're going to have Uncharted 4, so releasing it now is going to give pretty much everyone who wants to enjoy Uncharted 4 and get to know all the characters that are involved in Nathan Drake's life and all that. You get to experience all 3 games that lead up to the story, which you will experience in Uncharted 4. I know that some people are going to ask, what about the Uncharted on the Vita? And I got to be honest, I was not the biggest fan of Uncharted on the Vita. And I play that, oh, actually, that's right, I played that game all the way too. I finished the Uncharted on the Vita. And I was not the biggest fan, because they had a lot of tacked on, they had a lot of tacked on stuff in terms of like mechanics and stuff, like, oh, hold your Vita straight, otherwise Drake's going to fall. And I was like, oh, come on, man, that's just not cool stuff. There's also, beyond just, your regular third-person shooting, there's also a couple of melee mechanics. Those feel pretty much solid, and the whole game is very, I don't want to say cinematic, but I wanted to talk about the animations of the game. The animations in Uncharted are just really, really good. I mean, Naughty Dog definitely knows their stuff, and those of you who watched my Last of Us playthrough, you will probably have noticed that it's got a lot of really solid contextual animations and stuff like that. And, Uncharted also has those, which are, and I'm not talking about contextual animations. I'm saying, like, when, Drake goes close to a fire or something, he will lift his hand, try to cover his face to, like, protect his face from the fire. Or when he is stumbling around, he might put his arm up against the wall to, find balance. So basically, solid animations, great cutscenes, great voice acting, solid graphics, which are now 1080p, 60 FPS on the PS4. Just like an amazing game all around, in my personal opinion. You guys probably can see from the footage that you're watching in the background if this is your kind of game or not. So if you're into Uncharted, if you're curious to see what happened to Nathan Drake before you experience Uncharted 4, this is definitely the way to go. My biggest negative thing about this is the lack of multiplayer, like I said, because I really enjoyed the multiplayer on the previous games. And when I heard about this collection, I was wondering, what are they going to do? Are they going to just put Uncharted 3 multiplayer? They're going to put maybe some Uncharted 2 levels in there or whatever? What are they going to do with it? And it turns out it's just like there's no multiplayer, which, yeah. There's also a couple of things for all of you completionists out there. There's plenty of treasures that you can find, which are kind of off the beaten path. So if you're into that kind of stuff of looking for collectibles and whatnot, but they're not essential to the story. So if you don't care about that, you don't have to do it. But if you're, one of those trophy hunters and whatnot, and you want to get all the trophies and all the platinums and all that stuff, you're probably going to be spending quite a bit of time looking for treasures as well. They show up as glimmering lights as you go through the levels and whatnot. So yeah, this is definitely a good way to experience the Uncharted story with the best possible graphic fidelity you can get. So just let me know what you guys think about it. Leave me your comments in the comment section below. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.